Okay, good morning. Welcome to our 45-minute yoga class. My name's Joanna, if we've not met before, and I'll be guiding you today. I'm currently on the Sunshine Coast in beautiful BC for a couple of days, hence why the surroundings look a little different to my home studio. So today's practice is a deeper breathing Hatha class. So we're going to begin with a breath exercise, and then we're going to do the same exercise at the end of the class to see if there is any shifts. Now, very often in yoga, we will sit at the beginning of class and your teacher might guide you into meditation or into breath work. But often for a lot of students, it can be quite challenging to immediately sit and drop into those types of practices. Perhaps they've had a stressful day, perhaps they're feeling irritated or agitated, and perhaps they're feeling a little short on breath, or their breath is feeling very high up in their chest. They're not feeling particularly grounded. And so it can be more beneficial for students to get into those types of practices a little later on in the class. But I also understand why teachers put breath and meditation nearing the beginning of class, because it starts to create the vibe, the mood for the practice, and is there to help students drop into that grounding. So there is an argument for when and where to put these types of practices. But today our focus is on deeper breathing. So let us begin with placing our 4 fingers on the fronts of the rib cage and our thumbs on the backs of the rib cage. Now, if that's not comfortable for you, no problem. Just rest all 5 of your fingers on your rib cage, closer to the sides of your ribs and wrapping around the front. Relax your shoulders and sit nice and tall. You'll notice that I am sitting on a blanket just to support my ankles, and I am sitting on a cushion, so feel free to do the same. We'll use those props in class today. So in your tall seat of Sukhasana, hands to rib cage, you might keep your eyes open or close your eyes. And I'm just going to invite you to breathe into your hands. So as you take your next inhale breath, feel your rib cage expanding wider and fuller. And as you exhale, notice your rib cage softening and relaxing. Maybe your shoulders do the same. So continue like that. Inhale, expand and fill up the ribs. And exhale to relax. Now you might find this very challenging. That's okay. We're just observing, we're listening to the body in this moment. How are we feeling? What are we acknowledging about our breath? So just continue on for a few more rounds, breathing in and out of the rib cage. And just take one more of these breaths. And then release your hands, palms face up on your thighs, and give your shoulders a little roll. And I just invite you to return to a natural breath and just spend a moment or two longer thinking about what you noticed. How did it make you feel? What was the quality of your breath? And from here, we're going to move through some asana to help us create deeper breath. Now that involves some chest and heart opening and mobility for the shoulders and upper back. On your next inhale, sweep both of your arms up to the sky. Wrap your right hand around your left wrist and then take your arms up and over to the right. Root down through your pelvis and extend through your arms. And then lower that right hand to the mat and continue with that side body stretch, extending through your top arm, relaxing the shoulders and keeping the pelvis rooting down. You can stay like this or take the top hand behind your head and inhale, look up towards the sky or towards your top elbow with your gaze. This is opening your chest and your shoulder. If that feels too much, you can always stay looking forwards or looking down. Use your inhale to come all the way back up and exhale to release your hand. Inhale, lift your shoulders up towards your ears and exhale, roll your shoulders back and down. Inhale, both arms up to the sky and interlace your fingers, turn your palms up. Exhale, round your back, chin to chest, press your arms forwards and breathe in between your shoulder blades. Breathe down the length of your spine. Couple of breaths. And then use your inhale to roll all the way back up. Place your interlaced hands behind your head. Roll the shoulders down, elbows wide, and lift your chin and your chest towards the sky. Again, opening up the front lines of your body. And use your inhale to come back to center and your exhale to lower your hands. Again, lift your shoulders up to your ears. Exhale, roll the shoulders back and down. Inhale, both arms up to the sky. Wrap your left hand around your right wrist and extend the arms as high as you can. As you exhale, take your arms over to the left, finding that side body stretch in your right. Keep hugging your lower ribs in. Feel your core gently engaged so we're not loosey-goosey in our lower back. We're not arching deeply in that lower back. Left hand can come onto the mat now and deepen that side body stretch if it feels appropriate. If it doesn't feel appropriate, stay a little taller. And then the final piece here is that top hand behind the head. And inhaling, turning your chest more to the sky, looking up towards the sky, looking towards that right elbow. So nice. Use your inhale to come all the way back up and exhale to land your hands. Inhale, lift the shoulders up. Exhale, roll the shoulders back and down. Inhale, both arms to the sky, interlace the fingers, turn the palms up. And again, exhale, rounding the spine, chin to chest, looking towards your belly button, pressing the palms forwards, breathing into the back of your rib cage. Slowly mobilizing this upper body is really going to help us create deeper breath. On your next inhale, roll up through your spine till your arms are overhead. Exhale, bend your elbows, interlace hands behind the head, lean the head back, lift your chin and your chest up, relax the shoulders, couple of breaths. And inhaling back to center, exhale to lower your hands. Inhale, shoulders up, exhale, shoulders back and down. So just notice how the shoulders are feeling, the chest, the upper back. Maybe there is some tingling, some warmth, some blood flow. Let's continue with this. Come onto your hands and knees and feel free to use some padding under the knees if you have any sensitivity there. So I'm using the blanket. And then hands are underneath your shoulders, knees are underneath your hips, toes can be tucked or untucked. We're going to come into puppy pose and a Hatha asana. You'll extend your arms forwards and long, and maybe as wide as your mat, depending on how this will feel in your shoulders. You can always change the position of the arms as feels appropriate for you. For now, I'm going to guide hands as wide as the mat. Keep your pelvis high and start to melt your chest plate down towards the floor and back towards your thighs. You can lower your forehead to the earth or your chin to the earth, or you could use a prop for your forehead if it doesn't quite reach the mat. If this feels too much on your shoulders, simply bend the elbows more and put your forearms on the floor. If this feels great for your shoulders, you can play with coming up onto your fingertips, so more of your arm bones lift away from the mat. You can also play with how parallel your arms are to one another, or how wide your arms are to one another. With your heart melting towards the floor, you're breathing into that space and under your arms. And as you do this, you're drawing your belly button towards your spine, helping with massaging your digestive tract. Three more breaths. Use your inhale to come all the way back up onto your hands and knees, and pour out your exhale breath into the mat. From here, let's cycle through cat-cow. As you inhale, tilt your tailbone towards the sky, soften your belly towards the earth, and lift your chest and your chin up. As you exhale, round your spine, drawing your tail into your body, looking towards your belly button. Always start the movement from the tailbone. So inhale, tilt the pelvis, sink the belly down, lift the chin and the chest up. And as you exhale, rounding the spine, looking towards your belly button. One more cycle. Inhale, forwards and up. Use the whole breath, fill up to the top of your lungs. And exhale, rounding that spine. Coming back to a neutral spine. And here you might find that you want to release your knees from the floor. No problem. You can either tuck the toes, spread the fingers, and come up and into a downward facing dog, lifting the back of the pelvis towards the sky. Or you might stay on your hands and knees and simply extend one leg back at a time so that you can release one knee at a time. Do what feels best here for you. And then we'll meet back on our hands and knees. From here, we're going to take an inhale and float the right arm into the sky and open the chest to the right. And then as we exhale, taking the right arm under the left and lowering the right ear and shoulder onto the mat. Now, if your right ear and shoulder don't reach the mat, no problem. Find your pillow or cushion and place it under the head and shoulder for support. Your left hand is rooting down towards the mat for stability. And you're pressing that left hand into the floor a little more so that you can turn your chest a little more to the left, if that feels okay. With the pelvis high, you're still drawing belly button to spine to aid in that digestive process. And you also have the option here to play with that left arm position. You don't have to have the hand where it is. If you feel quite steady and stable, try walking that left hand forwards to the front of the mat and maybe slightly over to the right. This can deepen the line of stretch around that left shoulder. Final option here is left hand up to the sky. This will help you turn your chest more left, deepening the twist. Or maybe left hand on your lower back, or left hand towards your right hip crease. So wherever feels best, any of those options, find the one that fits today. And then focus back in on breathing into the sides of your rib cage and breathing around your shoulder blades. Three more breaths. And then lowering that left hand down onto the mat where you can see it. Press into that left hand and use your inhale to come all the way back to tabletop. And then exhale your breath fully in tabletop position. You might enjoy just rocking the hips a little bit at this point, swaying the rib cage a little side to side. See what feels good, see what helps your body return to a more neutral position. You might again enjoy coming up and into a downward facing dog to release the knees from the earth, or returning to extending one leg back at a time for length and for release for those knees. So nice. And then we'll take the second side of that, keeping things very simple and steady, meeting in tabletop position, hands and knees as your anchors. On your next inhale breath, float the left arm up to the sky and open the chest left. And as you exhale, take that left arm under your right arm and lower left ear and shoulder onto the earth. Or again, use the support of your pillow or cushion and lower head and shoulder to that instead. Nice high pelvis, belly button drawn towards spine. Breath around your shoulder blades. Option to keep that right hand where it is, or walk the right fingers forwards and slightly over to the left, or right arm into the sky, maybe wrapping the right hand onto your lower back or around to your left hip crease. Pick and choose the options. Know that you don't have to do the same option on both sides. You can always mix it up depending on shoulder mobility between the right and left side of your body. Again here, checking in with the depth and width of your breath into the sides of your rib cage and around your shoulders. Take 3 more cycles. And then lowering that right hand back onto the earth, coming all the way up on your inhale breath to tabletop and exhale fully in tabletop. Rock your hips, sway your rib cage, breathe nice and full. You might enjoy a lion's breath here. So if that's the case, take a big inhale through the nose. As you exhale, Out of the mouth, widen your eyes and stick your tongue out as far as you can. And again, inhale through the nose. Exhale, widen the eyes, stick the tongue out, widen the mouth. One more, inhale. Full deep exhale. Awesome. Come back to a regular breath. And we'll lower down onto our front bodies. So bending at your elbows, start to lower down onto your belly, onto your chest. Have your cushion or pillow nearby, you might use it. You'll start with your two hands, one on top of the other, and your forehead to your hands. And this is just creating a little lift for the cervical spine. See how that feels for you today. If any of this ever feels too much, you can always lower your hands down by your sides with the palms face up and just let one ear rest onto the floor so you're in a more neutral position for the spine. If you're comfortable with hands on top of one another, forehead to hands, continue here for a couple of breaths. You might enjoy just swaying your legs and hips a little side to side to release any tightness or tension you're holding in your lower back or in your glutes or in your hamstrings. From here, we'll move into Sphinx pose. For Sphinx pose, you can bring your forearms out in front of you and lift your chest a little higher. Now, for some, you'll keep your forearms a little further away from you, so more of your front body is connected to the mat. For others, you'll bring your forearms back, so your elbows start to come underneath your shoulders, perhaps. You'll lift your chest up a little more, roll your shoulders down your back, and allow your glutes and your hamstrings to remain relaxed. An option here is to place a cushion underneath the rib cage so that as you place your forearms on the floor, you're also placing your rib cage into the support of something that can feel really comforting, especially if you're dealing with any shoulder injuries or strains. It can take the pressure off holding yourself up purely on your arms and shoulders. So see how this feels. And actively and energetically hug your elbows back and lift your chest forwards and up. Try and keep the shoulders as relaxed as you can and keep your gaze neutral. So try not to look too high up or too low down. Just looking at the floor in front of your two hands is great. Couple more breaths here. If any of you wanted to take this further, you could float both of your feet off the floor, so just your thigh bones rest heavy to the mat. This will deepen the compression in your lower back, so just be mindful as to whether you need that today. If the feet are floating above you, you might wiggle your toes and roll the ankles. 3 more breaths. Notice where you're breathing in this gentle back bend. Floating those feet back to the earth, removing any props from under your chest and lowering the whole chest back to the mat. One hand on top of the other, forehead to your hands. Exhale completely. Maybe rock through your hips and legs again to release any residing tension, melting it down into the floor. Place your hands either side of your rib cage. Press into those hands and come up to tabletop position. And then widen your knees and connect your big toes together. Coming back and down into Child's Pose Balasana. Feel free to add a cushion between your pelvis and your heels if needed. Walk the arms forwards and fold your forehead towards the mat. If that doesn't feel great today, you can always keep your head a little higher, bend your arms so more of your forearms are supporting you on the floor. If you're melting your forehead and your chest towards the mat, keep walking those fingertips as far forwards as you can, breathing into the sides of your rib cage and under your arms. Allow the back of your pelvis to get heavier and wider. And one final option here is to walk your arms as close to the sides of your face as you can and connect your hands together. And then bring the thumbs back towards your head, the back of your neck, or in between your shoulder blades. This will create a tricep stretch perhaps. You're melting more of your triceps and your chest plate towards the floor. And if you want to feel more, you're walking the elbows a little further forwards. Breathe into what you feel here. Three more breaths. Lower your hands back onto the mat. Come all the way back up and into your tabletop position. And once again, take a full cleansing exhale breath. So nice. Come around to a seat now. Feel free to sit on your blanket or sit on a block to elevate the hips a little and bring your legs long and straight. If you want, you might choose to roll up a blanket or place a cushion underneath your knees if you'd like there to be more bend through the legs, especially if you're working with tighter hamstrings. Otherwise, you're keeping your legs nice and long and checking in that your legs are your hip distance apart. Try not to have the legs too close together as that can create more strain in the hip flexors. So legs your hip distance apart, hands on the tops of your thighs. Sit up as tall as you are and roll your shoulders up, back and down. Take an inhale breath. As you exhale, hinge forwards at your hips and slide your hands down the fronts of your legs, coming into Paschimottanasana, a seated forward fold. Now you don't need to hinge far forwards before you might feel this stretch, and that's great. For me today, I'm feeling very cold in my bones, and so my body feels tight. So just hinging this little way is enough. I can feel a gentle stretch in the backs of my legs and up my back. So that's where I need to be today. If you feel like you want to go further, continue hinging forwards, continue sliding your hands down the fronts of your legs. Some of you might wrap your hands around your feet. Just be mindful that as you lean forwards, you don't round the spine or hunch your shoulders up towards your ears. Keep that lovely length and relaxed shoulders. So you're simply breathing here. This stretch is so great for providing a stretch up the entire back lines of the body. So not only are we getting that lovely release in the upper back that we're looking for today for deeper breath, but we're also getting a stretch down to the back lines of the lower body. I'll add on to this. Feel free to come along or stay with what you're doing. We're going to cross at our forearms. So it doesn't matter which way you cross, we'll make sure we go both ways. So just cross one forearm over the other. It's probably the way that feels most natural for you. and then place your hands somewhere on your legs, wherever that feels good. So for me today, it's just below the knees, but for you, it might be around the ankles or around the feet. Once your hands are connected to the outsides of your legs, you're going to bow your chin in towards your chest, and you're going to press your middle back towards the back of the room and pull your belly button in. So this is creating a more rounded or concave shape. And this helps us press a bit more breath into the length of the back of the spine and into the shoulders. If that doesn't feel good for you today, no problem. Go back to more traditional Paschimottanasana where we were with the spine tall and hinging forwards from there. That version of the shape will probably give you more of a stretch into the back body, especially into the backs of the legs. But this rounding of the back variation is providing a bit more space into the upper back. 3 more breaths like this. And then you're just going to lift your chest enough so that you can swap your forearms over. So pressing the other way now. Return hands to the outsides of your legs, chin to chest, rounding the spine, pressing the middle back towards the back of the room. So nice. 3 more breaths. And then coming all the way back up to center. Roll those shoulders up, back and down. Take a big breath in and a cleansing breath out. Bend into your knees and connect the soles of your feet together. Slide your heels away from you. So working with that same type of breath and stretch. Your hands are on your lower legs, spine is tall. Bow your chin to your chest, round the back, and start to bring the crown of your head towards the floor in between your 2 legs. Your hands can slide down the shins, maybe towards the ankles or feet. This here is creating that lovely length and space in the back, but also now you might feel this a bit in your lower back or in your outer hips and thighs too. So continue with breath here. Three more breaths. Lovely. And then slide your hands up your shins, roll up through your spine until your head is the last thing to lift. Keep the soles of your feet together if this feels okay, and simply shift your pelvis a little closer to your heels. We're going to lower onto our backs. So we're keeping the legs in butterfly and we're going to lower all the way down. If it doesn't feel good to come to the floor like this, simply bring the knees together, lower onto your back, and then go back into butterfly pose. If you have any dizziness or nausea or vertigo, place a cushion behind your head so your head is a little more elevated than your heart. And feel free to keep your blanket under your back for warmth and cushioning as well. Pelvis to the earth, come all the way down and find Supta Baddha Konasana, reclined butterfly pose with the soles of the feet together and the knees wide. Feel free to cushion under your hips or knees if needed. Hands can be on your belly or arms can be wide across the floor. Expanding breath now into your chest, under your arms, and into your diaphragm and lower belly. Couple of breaths like this. Bring your hands to the outsides of your legs, bring your knees back together. From here, we'll move into a 2-knee twist. You can keep the props that you have behind your head and the blanket behind your back, no problem. Just shift your hips now to the left edge of your mat. Lower your 2 knees to the right. If you want to put more cushions in between your knees or under your knees, you can. You can keep your hands resting on the top of your body or open your arms wide across the floor. We're wringing out the spine here, we're opening up the chest, we're breathing a little fuller and deeper perhaps, and also surrendering our body to the floor. Let the body get heavy. Try not to resist the floor, but soak into it. Soak into this twist. Let's take 3 breaths. Use your inhale to come all the way back to center. Exhale in center and just take a breath or 2 more. On your next inhale, shift your hips to the right edge of your mat, lower your knees to the left. Again, gather any pillows or cushions you need under the knees or between the knees. Hands resting to body or arms opening wide. You can be looking up or you can turn your head to the right if that feels comfortable for you. See how it goes. Three more breaths. Engage your core, use your inhale to come all the way back to center. Exhale in center. And now extend your legs long and wide in Shavasana. Wide legs, wide arms, palms facing up, toes rolling out. Let your eyes close, maybe add a blanket over your body for warmth or weight, maybe an eye pillow. Settle in, nuzzle your shoulders underneath your body. Let your breath be soft and relaxed, nothing forced, nothing held. And I will call you from Shavasana when it is time. Until then, no more to do. If you have more time to dedicate to your Shavasana today, then please stay as you are. However, if it is time for you to come out, start to deepen your breath and add a little bit of movement into your fingers and toes and into your wrists and ankles. Take a full body stretch as you inhale. And as you exhale, perhaps hug your knees towards your chest. You can rock on your back. And eventually roll onto your side. Take a couple of breaths on your side body. And then press into your top hand and slowly roll all the way back up to a tall seat of Sukhasana. Just resting your hands on your legs with your eyes closed or soft to the floor. Feeling into this shifted body, feeling into your breath. And here is where we close our practice with the same exercise that we began with. So option here to rest your hands to the sides of your rib cage, just like you did at the beginning. And start to breathe into the sides of your ribs. And then exhale, softening and relaxing. Continue like this for a couple of cycles, inhaling to expand and lift through the ribs and chest, keeping the shoulders relaxed. And exhale fully. Couple more rounds. When you feel ready, you can return your hands to your legs. And again, just notice and observe how that exercise felt for you here at the end of your practice, perhaps in comparison to how it felt at the beginning of class. Honoring the richness and depth of breath within us all. And recognizing that sometimes we need to give it a little more attention and a little more time and a little more movement in order to feel its potency and its benefits. I thank you so much for joining me, for sharing in this experience of deeper breathing. Feel free to reach out with any comments or requests for future practices. One sealing breath here. Inhale through the nose and out through the mouth. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Breathe deep. Namaste.